Welcome to this mid-year update for what I have planned next on the channel. I wanted to give a brief update, kind of. I wouldn't really call it a progress report so much as the fact that my plans have somewhat changed a little bit, and there's a good reason for that. Now, to be fair, my plans often do change as the year progresses moving forward, but this year something happened that really kind of threw a monkey wrench in the way things are working going forward. And as you can see here behind me, I have a fan-made timeline for the Sonic games. And I want to give credit to the Redditor who put this up. His username is BonF16. And there's a lot of good timelines on Reddit. I don't spend a lot of time on Reddit, but one of the things when I first started playing the Sonic games is I found a lot of good timelines on there. And I do feel like the quality of work here with this user is actually probably the best quality of all of them. And he, even with the posts I looked at, he's still kind of making little tweaks and adjustments. But one of the reasons why I want to mention this is Sega just recently, I think within the last 2 months, give or take, put out an official timeline. But in the most Sega move ever, they didn't mention everything. They just mentioned some of the major plot points in the Sonic timeline. And one of the biggest things that they did that really just messed with a lot of people's preconceived notions of the timeline for Sonic is the fact they said, no, it's all one continuous timeline. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and I'll get into that here momentarily. But, you know, at this point in time, they said there's only one continuous timeline as far as Sonic is concerned. And so basically, my original intention was to kind of keep playing through the games in mostly release order up to the point where Sonic Generation created the timeline split. Well, there is no timeline split anymore. Thank you, Sega. So basically what you see here, there's a lot of games listed here and comics as he revised his timeline and threw some comics in there. So I'm not really too interested in reading any of the comics. But, you know, from my personal perspective of playing the Sonic games, I am going to mostly focus on the platformers and even some of the spin-off platformers, but I am going to completely ignore all the 8-bit games because I don't like them. I played Sonic 1 and 2 8-bit and I really didn't like them, especially Sonic 2, and I don't care what anybody says, I would rather play Sonic 4 any day of the week over any of those 8-bit games. I said it, and I meant it. I'm moving on from there because whatever you say about Sonic 4, it's not Sonic 2 8-bit. Screw that game. So, and also, you know, stuff like the racing games, Sonic Spinball, things of that nature. I'm not going to be making any videos for any of that stuff. Sonic the Fighters, it's just not something I'm going to be focusing on. So, for me, what I am going to do is there are 4 games on this list that I will play before I get back on track with the adventure era of Sonic, basically. And so the 4 games that I'm going to be playing, I'm going to be playing them with the Deus Ex series, which has basically 4 mainline games. So from that perspective, this works out very well. Now, the way to get to those 4 games is I'm going to have to play one of the 8-bit games. But I'm not going to play an 8-bit game. I'm going to play a fan remake, and it'll be the first game I play, and that is Sonic Triple Trouble 16-bit, which will basically happen between Sonic 3 and Sonic 3D Blast. So I will do Sonic Triple Trouble 16-bit, and then continuing on, I will try to get to Knuckles Chaotix, which happens after 3D Blast. Not here, it shows it happened before, but in his revised timeline, he's going to put it after Sonic 3D Blast. So, be Knuckles Chaotix, And then you see these two little timeline things where classic Sonic goes to the future for Sonic Generations and Sonic Forces. I'll just get to that later. So basically after that, we'll have Sonic Mania, and then down in the bottom there, Sonic Superstars. And so those are the next four Sonic games that I'm going to be playing. Now, I did kind of wrestle back and forth with some of my ideas as far as these platforming series are concerned. Could I mix in a different platforming series along with Sonic, or do I just want to focus on simply Sonic as far as a long-running platforming series? And so when it comes to platforming games and first-person shooters or shooters in general, I feel like it's probably better just to focus on one one series as a whole, because they don't really last a very long time, say compared to like an RPG series or an action-adventure game like Zelda or Castlevania. So I'm going to try to focus on getting through the Sonic series because it's pretty much all new to me and I'm kind of enjoying it so far. So along with those next four Sonic games, I'm going to try to play all the Deus Ex games that came out. And of course, like I did mention, I am going to try to go back to MechWarrior 5 and Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD. So that's my next 12 game rough list, basically. And there's, I guess, some clarification there. As far as MechWarrior is concerned, I've kind of tossed some ideas back and forth in my head. I thought about, doing Merrick and Kurita together and Steiner and Lau, but at the end of the day, I feel like from a philosophical standpoint, Kurita and Lau work together better than the other combinations. I know Merrick and Steiner are kind of mortal enemies, as it were, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's a better fit philosophically, even though they don't like each other. So from a mercenary perspective, that's kind of what I'm going to focus on, and I'll probably do Merrick, Steiner, and Free Rassilog Republic first would be my preference there. And one thing I will mention about MechWarrior 5, I have looked at a lot of the mods that are available for it, and I'm not really sure how much of the game I'm going to mod up per se, because a lot of the mods just don't make a lot of sense for the time period that the game is based off of. They don't even make a lot of sense for the time period that the new MechWarrior 5 Clans is based off of. They have basically these new model mechs and everything that came out late into the clan invasion, so they wouldn't even be there early on with MechWarrior 5 Clans. So I don't know, just perusing a lot of the mod lists, it's a whole bunch of mechs, but none of them make sense for the timeline. It breaks the lore of the game or the universe, and I really am not a big fan of that. So when it comes to mods, I am still trying to plan on doing some modifications, but it's going to be a little bit, hit or miss. I'll probably just try to do essential mods, maybe improve visuals, maybe a little bit of gameplay, but I don't want to introduce anything that just doesn't make sense from a lore perspective, because when it comes to Battletech, I do like the lore. The lore is very much ingrained in it, and I don't want to throw things in there that just break that lore. It just something that I heavily disagree with. So with those 12 games, roughly, in the next time period, I think that's basically what I'm going to focus on. That may or may not get me to the Halloween period. And so if it does get me to the Halloween period, then I know for sure one of the things I want to play is I want to play a new Castlevania game, new to me at least. Is it Order of Ecclesia? I forget which one it is. It's based in the 1800s, but I know Ecclesia is in the name, and it's one with the female protagonist. So I want to play that one, and I might play Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Had a DLC that came out, I want to say last year, that deals with Dominique. So I might try to throw that into the play rotation as well come Halloween time, depending on how much time it takes to get through all that stuff. But I I've started kind of reading a little bit of Call of Cthulhu, kind of lore, H.P. Lovecraft, things of that nature. So there are a couple of Call of Cthulhu games that I have. So maybe trying to throw one of those into the play rotation for Halloween. That might be something that I'll try to do as well. Either that or, some other, spooky type game that I have already. So I think I'm looking forward to doing that around the Halloween time period. Now, I'm not going to get into anything past that because I do have a pretty decent roadmap for things I want to do moving forward, but I don't know how long it's going to take for me to get through all these games. And also, I do want to mention that pretty soon I will be moving, and so I'm going to kind of take each game one at a time, and because I don't really have a timetable for when I'm going to move, but when I do move, I'll probably be out of pocket for, a couple of weeks, basically moving across the country, as it were. So it's just going to be kind of taking each game one at a time. I think for the most part, though, I should be able to get through Sonic Triple Trouble, 16-bit, and maybe even Deus Ex before moving. I'm pretty sure, and maybe even one more, like a Mech Warrior 5 run as well, possibly, though that might really be pushing it, to be honest with you, because don't know how long Deus Ex will be, but it's a pretty meaty game as well, so it could take me a while to get through that. So I may just be able to do those two games before I move. So be transparent up front and let you all know that. And depending on how far I get with all this stuff, by the time I get through with Twilight Princess and or the Halloween games, basically I'll probably give another we'll call it year-end update or something, if I can get through all those by the end of the year. This year I have played a lot of fairly substantial games that have a lot of time in them and took a while to piece together the playthroughs. So that's to be expected, especially when you start hitting Fallout and then the Deus Ex series. They'll take a little bit longer. I don't think the Deus Ex ones will take as long as Fallout. I mean, really shouldn't, but they may take some time. Anyway, that's my like I said, not quite halfway through the year, but pretty close to it. We'll just still call it a mid-year update at this point. But thank you very much for watching this video. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.